Good morning. This morning is the Environmental Resource Committee meeting for the month of September. Will we all stand and pledge allegiance?
I am going to not stand. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
We understand.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. This morning we have a new member in attendance, Mila. Would you introduce yourself to everyone, and then we'll introduce ourselves to you.
I'm Mila Milman. I've been a resident of Sunset Beach for about a year, but we've owned property here since 2003. I worked for the United States Department of State as a Foreign Service officer. I retired last year, and I'm happy to be on the Environmental Resource Committee.
We're happy to have you. Steve, you want to
Sure,
introduce
Steve
yourself?
Hines. I've been here a little over 2 years, though I have been visiting for many years. And my background is in marine fisheries. I work for the state of New York, so welcome.
Rich Mack. I've been here in the area for 8 years. No professional background, but a master gardener and an environmentalist at heart. Welcome.
I'm John Farrell. I've been in Sunset Beach for 7 years, almost 8. I've been on the ERC now for 4 years. And my background is in power generation and engineering consulting.
I'm Don Eggert. I have been in Sunset Beach 3.5 years, although I've lived in Brunswick County since 1985. My professional career was primarily planning and zoning work for small towns, although the last 12 odd years I've been long-range transportation planning. Been on this committee about 3 years. I was on it, got off it, went on the planning board, got back on this committee. That's me.
Candace Sieben. I've lived in Sunset Beach for 6 years, and this is my second year on the ERC.
Hi, my name is Chad Stardomsky. I'm the planning director for the town. I am the staff liaison from this board to town, other boards. Born and raised in Brunswick County, been here my whole life.
Steve, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Steve. Do I sound clear? Can you hear me
Yes.
clearly?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm Steve Levine. I've had a property in Sunset Beach since 2003. And I've worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprise and other technology companies over the years. Sorry I can't be there. I had COVID last time. I think Chad had it. My parents have COVID, and I'm trying to move them into an assisted living facility today because it got delayed because they have COVID. But I apologize for not being there, but I don't want to expose everybody because I got exposed again. I don't think I'm going to get it, but if I did, I couldn't be there anyway because I was exposed 2 days ago.
I understand that.
So anyway, sorry about that.
Well, that's fine. Thank you for communicating with us so we could connect you into the meeting.
Yep.
Steve Levine is the secretary. Are you
I'm
able?
typing now. Yes,
You're-
I'm on my computer right now. I'm typing
Okay.
notes as we speak.
So you'll take care of this meeting.
Yes.
All right. So we get through the introductions, and the first item is the amendment and approval of the draft agenda.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I understand that in November, the day before our meeting, which would be our meeting's regular third Wednesday, is National Recycling Day. And since Ms. Sieben and I are the recycling subcommittee, I would like to move that our meeting to be moved to that Tuesday if everybody can do it that Tuesday. It's a if.
Do we have to put that on the agenda separately?
Oh,
John?
well, yeah, I guess we do. Well,
Or can we address it now?
Chad?
I know we briefly talked about this before we coming in there because another conflict with the chairman and another committee outside of the town.
Okay.
Do we want to add that as a new business item?
Yeah, we need to add that as a new business item.
All right, so we'll
That
add
way
that.
we can discuss this and make sure the date works for everybody. And then ultimately we can make that decision today. Originally it was going to be put or discussed on the October agenda.
So we'll add item 6B, November new meeting.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Are there any other additions anyone would care to make? I have one item, one possible item. One of the citizens of town, or one of the residents, property owners of town, Lynn Nesmith, has reached out to the ERC about issues she has with the ordinance affecting the landscaping of her property. And Rich and Candace and I were both out at her property yesterday, walking around, and we thought maybe there could be some discussion about the idea of natural landscaping, what might be acceptable for natural landscaping in Sunset Beach.
Can we put that on as item C under new business?
Well, yesterday after our meeting, I got a message that Lisa has asked Officer Hall to have a meeting with the planning board and with Pete Larkin and you and I and him to talk about the
And what we
issues that exist with her property and the ordinances
Okay.
that exist today.
Sort of
so-
what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, kind of what we talked about yesterday.
Okay.
So he's been asked to set that meeting up. I don't know if we should postpone this to the November to the October meeting.
You can place this on the agenda. I won't go into the contents of that meeting, but I will go into the contents of what the UDO states about yards
Okay.
and vegetation.
So we'll add item 6C as
Ordinances pertaining to natural vegetation.
okay. So we have added 2 items. Is there anything else? If not, I need a motion
make
to
a motion.
approve the amended agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the amended agenda.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we have no public presence, so we have no public comments. Next item is the meeting minutes from August 17th. Are there any amendments anyone feels has to be made to that? If not, we need a motion to approve and
I motion we approve the August 17th meeting.
is there a
Minutes.
second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we move into old business. First item is the ERC subcommittee structuring. The last 2 months, we've talked a lot about the formation of subcommittees on the ERC. And time now to do something about it. I've talked to Chad about this. I really don't want to be the one to, and I think I talked to everyone last month. I don't want to be the one to pick who goes where. So Candace came up with an idea that is, that I think is a kind of a fair and democratic way of doing that. What we'll do is I have a matrix chart here that has names and subcommittees. The three subcommittees that we're focused on are recycling, what we call the green subcommittee, the climate subcommittee. There is a fourth subcommittee for events. Events, I don't think we need a standing committee for events. We can, as events come up, we can, if everyone would agree, we can do ad hoc formation of an event subcommittee. So we'll just focus on recycling, green, and climate. And what I'd like to do is ask each one of you to tell me what your first choice, second choice, and your third choice for a subcommittee would be, and then we'll see how the numbers work out on that. I don't know if you've had any chance to think about this. Probably not.
Not.
So if you want to take a pass on it, that's fine.
No, I can pretty much say what my preference would be.
All right. What would your first preference be?
Green,
And your second?
climate,
And your third?
recycle.
Okay. Rich?
You went to Steve.
All right. Steve?
Go ahead.
Oh, the other
There's
Steve.
Steve.
Steve
Double,
Hines.
double Steve. Double Steve.
Steve,
Okay, go.
you're at the end of the line, so we'll
Okay, that's cool. That's
Okay.
fine.
Steve Hines.
Yeah. So the first would be climate,
Okay.
second green, and third recycling.
Rich?
Look at green, number one. Number two, climate.
Recycling. three.
Yeah, I'd rather, yeah.
Don?
Recycling would be number one, green number two, and of course, what was the third one?
Climate.
That would be number three. Yeah.
Candace?
My first choice would be green, then recycling, and then climate.
Steve Levine?
Let's see, Cleveland, Carolina, and then Green Bay. No, I'm joking.
Come on, man.
No, I would say green, climate, recycle. But I could flip, to climate, green, and recycle. I mean, I'm flexible, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So here's what it looks like. Well, first of all, I want to say that the ERC has an umbrella over it for climate action.
Mm-hmm.
That's our biggest priority. This climate subcommittee is more focused on resilience and things like that. But the ERC is part of the community action team designated by the town for the Resilient Coastal Communities Program. So we're all involved in climate. And I really believe that our each one of these subcommittees, in focusing down underneath that cover, has to look at the effects of that area on the climate in town. So even though you may be on the recycling committee, I would hope you would think about it in terms of how recycling can improve the climate and help the town in its climate action planning. So we have Don and Candace have the highest interest in recycling. Oh, the other thing is we can have up to 3 members of the committee on a subcommittee without getting into a quorum issue. If we have a 3-person subcommittee and the subcommittee needs to reach out to Chad or to me or someone else, then, or to anyone else on the ERC, then they have to pick a spokesperson amongst themselves to be the contact person for that. So we have Candace and Don as the 2 highest interest in recycling. We have 4 people interested in the green. Mila, Rich, Candace, and Steve. And
Which Steve?
Steve Levine. And we have we have 3 people with a second interest in climate and Steve Hines with the first. I guess I didn't vote for myself. I would put my first choice with climate, my second with probably with recycling, and my third with green. So, so we have 2 number 1s for climate. We have 4 number 1s for green, and we have 1 number 1 for recycling and 2 number 2s.
Who's your number 1 for recycling?
Done.
All right. So Don would be on recycling.
And Miss,
John Farrell and Steve Hines would be
well,
number 1s on climate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would Steve Levine be willing to switch from green to climate? Because I thought he said that in his.
Yeah, I'm flexible. I'm flexible. It doesn't matter to me.
So Steve Levine would be climate.
Or do you have a preference between climate or recycling? I guess you rated climate higher than recycling, so.
He's saying he would do climate instead of green, maybe green
So if we
number
have,
2.
if we pick the 3 people, then we have for climate we have Steve Hines, myself, and Steve Levine. For green, we have Mila, Ridgeback, and Candace as their top choice. For recycling, Don, that's his first choice. I guess the other thing is we can be on more than one subcommittee, but you have to realize the commitment you're making to how you want to spend your time.
So as I have it right now, green would make up Mila, Rich, Candace. Recycling would be Don. Climate would be John F., Steve Hines, and Steve Levine.
Yes. Is there anyone that would like to?
I'd be happy to continue doing recycling with Don because I think I have a pretty good understanding of the time commitment
Right.
there.
and John, you maybe we would. I suggest maybe you join the recycling subcommittee too, if you want to.
Or come in ad hoc when we need
Yeah.
you.
Well, I'd be happy to be part of that. So we
Okay.
can say Don, Candace, and me.
Yeah, we'll let you join.
So, so for the record, green would make up Amila, Rich, and Candace. Recycling would be Don, Candace, and John Farrell. The climate would be John Farrell, Steve Hines, and Steve Levine.
Everybody got that?
Yes.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, I do.
The
All right.
the other one that we've talked about And that's going to be more of a rotational basis. It's going to be more working with the two events that the ERC isn't heavily involved with each year. And that is the Earth Day Arbor Day celebration held in May or March or April, depending on the year, the date, and the decision, and the Sunset at Sunset Festival, which is held, I think, the first Saturday in October of every year. So,
Oh,
I have a question for you, Chad. Not a question, a comment, I guess.
sure.
So, I think I told you I was just in the town. I had 29 years of Tree City, USA.
Mhm.
Do you need any assistance from this committee
I'm going to need,
to help with your
I'm going to
submission?
reach out to one of you or two of you to help me with that.
Okay.
I have failed to do something in the past 2 years to be able to complete an application. And I don't know where I'm failing at that. I've reached out, I've tried to follow it online, and I've got to figure out where I'm falling short of that. So I got the email yesterday that the official window is open for next year or this year. So I will be reaching out to a few of you to help me with that to make sure we complete that.
I can imagine
So-
the initial.
So we have had multiple years of Tree City USA awarded. It's just the understanding of the past 2 years we've had a gap, but getting back on track, and ultimately, so that's the attempt's been there. It has been difficult to complete that application for whatever reason.
Thanks.
So we have an event subcommittee now for Sunset at Sunset in October. It's coming up in a couple weeks. So at our October meeting, we can form a subcommittee for Earth Day, Arbor Day,
Yes,
and move forward from there. That
works.
works?
Yep.
Yep.
Do we need a vote on the subcommittee?
Yeah, if somebody will make a motion on the subcommittees on how I've read them, and then see if there's a second. If there's not a second or a motion or doesn't carry, then we'll figure it out.
I move that the subcommittees be established as presented by the chair.
There a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And
Great.
thank you for whoever, that was your idea, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad if it worked.
It worked, yeah, so far.
I got something out of all those management training sessions.
Okay. We have thoroughly discussed and considered all the possibilities for these subcommittees, and I'm excited and looking forward to getting this going, even though there's a lot of stuff that's been happening up to this time, and now it's more formalized.
I do have a question. Sorry about this. 1 or 2 or 3 years for the subcommittee?
Why don't we just say, well,
Can we just revisit maybe when,
yeah,
Chad's
We
got
do-
one finger up. Let's do it on an annual basis.
yeah. And
Okay.
some of these may not work. We want to establish other ones too.
or new people may join the board and we'd be
Yeah.
revisiting anyway.
And, I might not get reappointed.
And okay, the next item is Sunset at Sunset planning. Candace, Rich, and I have been working on this, and Chad's been been helping us significantly with this. Do we have the banner ordered?
I am working on that now. That is my main goal for today, is to get that finalized.
Candace, you were going to try to find some materials from
Yeah, Don and I both talked to Rebecca, and I'm sorry, I don't know her last name.
Locked in, LOGDON, I think.
She's the replacement for Mickey Bozeman at the
Right.
county, and she's going to give us brochures for the recycling, give us the county brochure that shows the sites and has the information about what's recyclable. I believe Don told me he has some magnets, and I think
I've
you
got
do
a whole
too.
bunch
Oh,
of
we've got a million.
So,
magnets.
yeah, so we're not asking for any more of those. We just need to make sure they get to the event. And then I've talked, the master gardeners are not coming, and we were hoping that they would have materials to hand out going along kind of with the homegrown parks and some of the green ideas, that they would have backup information. So I've been talking with them about potentially getting some of the information they may have handed out, like coastal landscape planning booklet. So hopefully we can get that to go along with another section.
And Chad, you're going to make a new recycling handout for the town.
Yes, I have the QR code. It's the one you sent me a couple months ago. I'll update that along with print out the
Grown parks.
the hurricane
Okay.
visuals that you sent me as well.
Right.
And then I am going to try to get Lisa in here before we end this discussion on what that day is going to look like for everybody. She's been working diligently on what that looks like. Staff kind of has a vision of what it looks like. It's not, it's probably 95 to 99% in concrete. But what this looks like for you as far as setting up and or helping break down and stuff like that and getting your materials in there, I'm going to try to get Lisa in here to kind of define that day. It will be from 10 to 6. You will be part of the town booth. I'm going to try to be with that booth as much as I can. And then we'll ultimately need to break it up into shifts. I would say, 10. Break it up into 1 to 2 hour shifts so people can serve more, serve less. It's next Saturday, so a week from Saturday.
Are you going to be able to do any?
I doubt I'll be there.
So we have 6 people.
One of the concerns I have is having to take the bus in there and then take it back could be a little more than I can tolerate.
Okay.
This is Steve. I'll be there. I can take my golf cart. So
There you go.
I don't know if you can bring your golf cart inside the.
I can walk. I live a half a mile from here.
Yeah. Well, you run through there all the time.
I do.
As you continue
do.
this conversation, I need to go get my laptop and to prepare for another conversation we're going to have later, and I'll see if Lisa's in her office. I'll be right back.
All right. Thank you. So let's talk about what people can do to work at the booth and their time at the booth.
Okay.
How available are you, Mila?
Oh, I can take a shift.
Okay. Steve?
Morning.
I'll do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, 2 Steves.
It's Hines and Levine, right?
Living.
Levine.
Well, the first shift, let's say from 10 to 12, that would also involve setup. Mila, I see you raising your hand.
Morning person.
Who
Yeah.
else would?
Morning's much better for me with the steaming. And I'm hoping Lisa can explain, that she'll explain what our responsibilities are for setting up. I think it's going to be really hard to get our materials there.
It's going to be hard to get in there after it starts.
The whole thing, I think, the logistics of that is hard, and I think that's why he wants Lisa to come and
I-
explain. But this is one of the reasons the Master Gardeners, they've always come, and they love that event because it's big and they get a lot of exposure. They said they couldn't come this year. We're all seniors in there, and the logistics is just too hard.
Mhm.
I thought
So I don't know.
I thought staging was Friday evening also, or whatever, the night before the event.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's
That we could take materials in there.
whether
Okay, Lisa,
Who would watch a movie?
can you give us a rundown on the organization of what we need to know about Sunset at Sunset?
Okay, you will be in the town booth with staff as well as maybe some elected officials. I haven't heard back from everybody yet. We will man the booth from 9 to 5, and we'll work in shifts. So if you want to pair up and be there to just talk with folks as they come by, we've ordered the bags that you will give out. Have they seen the bags?
I can show them one. I can each give them one before they leave today.
Okay. So those are here. So you can pack information in there. Have you had your banner made yet?
I'm finalizing that today.
Okay. So you'll have your banner up. If you want to bring all your material to town hall, we have staff that will transport everything that the town is giving out, brochures, the recycling information for the program, and anything else that my staff decides that we need to have in that booth to pass out.
So you need it by Friday, the day before, by,
Yes,
doesn't matter what time, 3 o'clock.
it really doesn't, because we'll probably be working all night that night and all day that day and the next day.
How do you want us
Since
to
we're
mark it
moving.
so they'll know it goes to us? Just put it in a box and mark it ERC or something?
Yeah, when they come pick it up, they'll know that everything's going to the town tent.
Okay. So we'll just know when we get there how to
And they'll
sort
put
it
the
out.
banners up and they'll put everything up. And if you want to start coming in about 8 o'clock, then you can get the tables set up. You know, it's a new venue, a new year. We don't know about wind and what that's going to entail and all that fun stuff. But later on this week or the first of next week, we'll actually have the layout, the map. So I'll be able to give you a map that'll show you exactly where our town booth is in relation to where everything else is.
Last year, the town booth was right next to the
Police department. Mm-hmm.
And of course, the fire department, not too far away. They're just on the other side of another tent. But
Right.
will that
right.
be the same? You know?
I assume that the police department will be beside us as they always have been. I haven't seen the site plan yet, but I do know that the fire department will actually be on the corner of West Canal and Sunset Boulevard North in that vacant lot beside Dave's. That's where the obstacle course will be. The fire truck will be there, and the children's tent will be there.
That's good.
How big will the town booth be? Do we get a long table to work from, or?
I think it's 18 feet wide,
Okay.
and we'll have 2 or 3 tables. And if you want to, instead of doing the L like we had it last year, if you want to move it so that the tables are up closer to the front and then you're behind the tables instead of vice versa, you can do that. When you get there, you'll be able to set it up any way you want.
Will there be
Great.
chairs, or do we need to bring chairs?
Nope, there'll be chairs and everything for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay,
We
very,
try to make it as simple as possible.
we're
Is
very
it a
grateful to
table or a
Public
tent?
Works.
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah, we'll be under a tent and we'll have tables to put everything on.
As far as talking to the public, do we have talking points or we ad lib?
We have to create that.
We have to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit of both. Because you'll get all kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Some things you'll know about, some things you won't. And hopefully whatever staff member's there with you, they will know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I was very lucky last year that Lisa was there when I was there. She answered everything. We only did recycling last year as the ERC portion. And so if it had anything else to do, and even some of the recycling questions that I didn't know, Lisa was kind enough to answer. So that was really helpful.
Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing, especially with the recycling program that the town offers, it is only for town residents. We don't go out into the ETJ. It's just within town limits.
So to get to and from the event, we have to go through the remote transportation.
You can. There will be staff, committee member, volunteer parking areas. Those are still being ironed out. So I'll have a lot more definite information the first of the week than we have right now. But you can certainly park at one of the off sites and shuttle in, or you'll be able to get closer than that.
Okay.
And you can
How many buses are going to be involved
Candace can park in my
in
driveway.
moving people around?
There'll be
Right,
3
with
shuttle
the golf cart
buses.
over
Each one will be assigned to a specific location.
Right.
Town Hall, Seaside United Methodist Church, and the Sea Trail Convention Center are the 3 sites, and the buses will continuously circle from there to the fire station.
Or any other questions? But we'll look forward to getting more specific information next week.
Okay. And
Sounds great.
Just start getting your information together, and we'll get it all down there,
Great.
and it'll be a blast.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, it will be.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you and the staff for all you're doing on this.
Yes.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. What I can do as far as the shifts, I can do a kind of a shared Google Doc. That way you can think about it and sign up for a block, and make sure we have coverage.
Should we, let's see, from 9 to 5,
If she
that's,
wants us there at 8 to do some setup, let me do 8
Yeah.
to 10. That would be perfect.
do we want to
Mila and I
do
could
like
do 8 to
3-hour shifts, or do we want to just leave it?
If we did 8 to 11, 11 till 2, and 2 to 5?
Yeah.
8 to 11, 11 to 2, and 2 to 5. Can
Two,
do-
I
two
could do
to
8 to
5 is
11.
going to include breakdown too.
There may not be too much if I mean, last year when it finished, we did not have much to do. Staff comes and takes the tables and the chairs and all of those things. We just had to take our materials so they didn't get lost. But in this case, we could probably have staff bring them back here and pick them up here.
Yeah, I agree with Candace. I think at the end, we just take everything and put it in the boxes it came in. There's no setup of the booth, or
Mhm.
so the tear down happens pretty fast.
And our setup in the morning would be mainly finding our boxes and getting the materials out and ready to go.
So is
get any-
3 hours okay with
Can't get
everybody?
any- So I would suggest too to be maybe even more flexible than that. So if someone I picked my wife up at the airport that day, but I don't know what time I'm waiting for a reply. So, I mean, I can come in for 1 or 2 hours in the morning, 1 or 2 hours in the evening. So as opposed to being
3 hours there.
but we could maybe still have 1 or 2 people committed to each of those hours and then come and go.
I mean, and I think that will work. I mean, depending on where I'm at, what I'm doing, I can help pick up slack if need be,
Yeah,
depending
yeah,
on
that's
in
what
some
I
of those areas.
And we could certainly have 3 people there. We have 2 people signing up at least for each section. How
Okay,
they want to
so-
do it.
Mila and Candace had indicated the first shift. Steve Levine and
I can do either. I can do any shift. Just pick one. I'll do one. Whatever. I can do the middle shift or the last shift. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Steve Hines.
I think I'd prefer the last shift.
It might be kind of dangerous to have 2 Steves at the same shift.
Probably.
Maybe.
I'm
Rich,
sure.
you kind of want to be floating. You
Yeah,
want to be
I could
flexible.
commit to the second second block of hours.
All right.
Yeah, she usually comes in the morning or in the late afternoon.
Well, the busiest times that we experienced last year were
Up
Like
till
the
about 1
midday.
o'clock. Yeah.
the midday was the peak.
Yeah. It started winding down, and I think that I was on this. You were there in the morning part, and I think I came in
Right.
afternoon, and by 4 o'clock it was pretty well
It was
wound up for what we were doing.
90 degrees and nothing but sunshine last year.
Yeah.
So it was very hot by that time.
Okay, just as a placeholder then, Mila and Candace will set it up and get it going. Rich and I will come in the middle, and Steve Hines and Steve Levine will take the third shift. And I don't know, I feel flexible if somebody wants coverage earlier or later.
Same.
We can do that.
Can we have name tags? That you have 2 Steves? I mean,
Yeah.
even the paper or the gummy one. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have name tags. The town doesn't I had a box of name tags last year, so I'll find them somewhere.
With your recycling stuff.
Okay, so we've got a schedule. We got a plan. This should be real exciting.
I think the only thing we didn't, the homegrown parks brochure, we're planning to hand that out? Just
Yeah.
the kind of that national one, the one that you sent us?
Rich sent you a PDF file, so you can get that printed off.
I can get that printed off.
Okay.
So you bring the town brochure and the homegrown parks brochure.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's in your.
Now,
just,
from a climate standpoint, what we had discussed doing, Chad is going to make up some flood maps like this. This is for surge from hurricanes, and a Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3 storms. And we want to put these up. We want to have little tabs that people can put on there. We're going to ask them to identify, where do you live? So they can see how, where they live in respect to the possibility of flooding from different storms. Chad's going to have brochures about hurricane preparedness, and that is going to be the primary focus for the climate activity.
Did you hear the Hurricane Fiona 5 to 8 foot surges, waves 5 to 8 feet high?
I think it's going to be higher before it's done.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about it becoming a Category 4 storm this afternoon.
So would those be on like a poster board and an easel?
Yeah.
Do you have easels, John? Do you bring easels for it?
No, that's a good question. Does the town have easels we could?
I am not sure of that.
I have 2 easels at home. I can.
Find an art studio.
Okay, if you can contribute your easels. I have some small easels we could put on a tabletop. I made those for the last time.
Well, I remember those. That's what I was wondering if you.
So she has 2, I have 1.
Because Don and
we
I were
can-
jealous, weren't we?
So Sunset Vision runs the art show. So yeah, I mean that might be a contact if we can't find enough easels.
Okay.
Pete,
You're part of Sunset Vision also, aren't you? Can you contact them to see if
Okay.
we could borrow?
Do we just need 3?
We
We
need
have 3.
3.
Mine are kind of flimsy, but they're doable. Maybe they have sturdier ones.
Okay.
We need 3, you said?
Yeah, if you could get 3, that would be great.
And can I just say, I'm really glad Chad is our liaison because he's doing a big part of the job. Thank you.
become a
Thank
Luddite.
you. Getting all these things printed.
Time to become a Luddite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, the next agenda item is Earth Day, Arbor Day 2023 planning. Chad, do you have anything to discuss this month, or should we postpone that to next?
This is really going to pick up between October and December. I'd say we get through Sunset at Sunset and then start. I will say the budget is there, the money's there. Lisa's been very diligently working with that, so we'll be able to submit something to hopefully it be accommodated. And we have some rollover expenses that we've already used or spent stuff on last year, like the banner. That can be recycled and be reused. And Rich, I have the application that I hopefully will have filled out in the next couple of days to give back to you as well. So
Okay, good.
Okay,
That's a BEMC.
So-
yes, sir.
What day did we decide for Earth Day?
Saturday, April 22nd.
after Sunset at Sunset in our October ERC meeting, we want to kind of have a debriefing, what we learned and what we,
I will say this, that this year's event will be the staff or the subcommittee or the couple people that will be on that will be working with me. There'll be a few more details that we will have to go through this year because of the text amendment that was just passed yesterday. You're welcome.
For the special event.
Yeah. So I'll have to task y'all with getting neighboring business owners permission to park and parking stuff like that when we'll go through the whole gamut of what's required. We didn't have any issues with this last year, but moving forward as this gets bigger and bigger, potentially it could. So we'll just keep that in mind. The biggest thing comes into is the kind of the traffic control plan and the parking plan. Those are the two things that really become the stickling points. So just to kind of keep that in your mind and going from there. But other than that, it should be pretty fun. And
Is there a way we used to do? We would hire the police, maybe off duty at $35 an hour. This was 10 years, 15 years ago. Is that an option?
we can look into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can throw out everything on the table and see what sticks there. Police, because we'll figure it out.
Okay. Good.
The text amendment passed yesterday.
Yes, that text amendment did pass yesterday.
What was it? What was the I didn't catch what it was for.
So there was 3 text amendments passed yesterday. One of them was tabled. The one we're talking about in particular was on temporary events. It moved any contradicting special event language from the general code to the Unified Development Ordinance, which there were already provisions in there in the UDO already. I've moved every contradicting part of that from the general code into the UDO and added a couple stipulations as far as permission from property owners if you're using private property for parking, and bringing in the TRC procedure through for temporary events in the park as well, and other temporary events if they're deemed markets and stuff like that. So those were the 2 major ones. The timing and the how many special events we could have in a calendar year doesn't pertain to us because we don't use it once a week, but up to we could do this celebration up to 26 times in a calendar year. So that really doesn't pertain to us. But the main things that were already in there that staff was not looking at, but kind of getting a rein back on this, was the traffic control plan that we need to work on and come up with that event applicants will be required to do moving forward, and then where you're showing where your parking is going to be and how that's going to be manned, all that along with, and then the bigger traffic part kind of requirement and consideration that comes into play is where everything bottlenecks from the roundabout down to the stop sign to how you get in and out of the park. Make sure that traffic doesn't back up for miles in either direction, and making sure that continues to flow pretty well. So,
Okay.
okay. Next item is phase 3 of the RCCP. Is there an update on that?
I do not have an update. I know that we were awarded the grant in phase 3, so our engineering costs will be predominantly covered. I don't know what the final breakdown, if we're in the red or the black with that. Pretty darn close, I hope. I have not gotten an email about phase 4 either, what that looks like moving forward, but as soon as I have that email on what phase 4 looks like, we will be negotiating into that. So,
Well, when the grant was given to Sunset Beach, there was a period anticipated of at least a month to go through the negotiation with the DCM. to finalize a contract for that work. And several of us on the committee had questioned when there'd be a kickoff meeting to begin that engineering work. Because we'd like to meet with the engineer and talk about what they're going to do, and then have periodic review meetings with them about that. So, okay. That's old business. New business items, climate action playbook, included with the packet for the meeting is a 2-page draft that I had created of what I call the Town of Sunset Beach Climate Action Playbook. There are no original ideas in the world. This was taken from the city of Philadelphia. And what I tried to do, I thought what they had done was excellent. And what I tried to do was take that concept from a large city and make it work for a small town in North Carolina. And basically, what this would be is a playbook with all the elements of our climate action activities. It would start out with the resolution that was passed by the council. They had a multi-year plan for climate actions to be taken. A number of them were assigned to us, a number of them were assigned to other parts of the town. But that would be the basis for all the climate actions for the town. Included in that is a 10-year stormwater improvement plan, which the town has moved forward on, and as far as I know, is ahead of schedule on. We have the 2017 land use plan that we have to keep in mind. There is a hazard mitigation plan for the town that could be included in this playbook. That has to be periodically updated by the town. In the past, the town has chosen to really include itself in the Brunswick County plan. But with all the other things we're doing, possible we want to be more proactive about that. I don't know.
The idea of Sunset Beach having its own hazard mitigation plan has been kicked around a few times, and in favor of having one. We are part of the Southeastern Hazard Mitigation Plan that covers Onslow, New Hanover, Pender, Brunswick County, and I don't remember if Columbus is one of those. But from Jacksonville all the way down, pretty much Emerald Isle all the way down to the coast, we are part of that Southeastern Hazard Mitigation Plan. It's a plan that would cover all 4 of those counties. And I know that probably the update on that is coming up in the next year or two, that I plan to be heavily involved with. I know that has been requested by this board, but also the planning board, and the council, that Sunset Beach has more of a voice into that. There was some staff changeover as we were going through, along with COVID. We were going through the last one. There is a small excerpt into that just pertaining to Sunset Beach. That is not just what is covered by the town, but also we're blanketed under the whole Southeastern Hazard Mitigation Plan. And what that does is that puts a plan into place to allow us to apply for FEMA money on the back end when we have a natural disaster. I'm now probably at a more position where I can probably start looking at the pros and the cons I need to look at the pros and the cons of what would be the benefit of having our own versus just being in the Southeastern Hazard Mitigation Plan. I think it starts there and kind of going from there and presenting that to council and the 2 other boards as well.
I believe there's overlaps between the hazard mitigation plan and the RCCP and all the other things. So yeah, if we put it all together in a playbook,
when I think of Sunset Beach having its own hazard mitigation plan, I don't know if that's what's really needed, or working with staff to potentially come up with our emergency operations plan, if there is one, that type thing, or updating it. So,
Okay.
and kind of going from there.
The other possible inclusion would be the revisions to the UDO that are being done at this time. The town recycling program is certainly, in my mind, part of a climate action program. The ERC was actually formed in response to the resolution passed by council, because they wanted they wanted a group of people to work on specific items. So, and then we have the Resilient Coastal Communities Program, phase 1 and 2, which are done. Phase 3, which is started, and we have a town resilience strategy that needs, I think it needs more work, and it needs to be a roadmap for all that we're doing in the resiliency area. So I don't know, have anybody reviewed this and any comments about doing it this way?
I think it's a great idea. It's nice to have everything together. CMP.
No, I think that this is a good draft of how we're going to do this, with, notes to what Chad was discussing about, do we really need a hazard mitigation plan, or just maybe update the emergency operations plan? But that could be covered. We'll deal with it, as we fill this in.
My question to the board, and I just had this thought, is it, when we think of Playbook, are we looking at all these documents? Because some of these documents are pretty thick. Are we looking at more of a one binder type thing, or are we more looking at the library of these books to where, is that a fair question to ask? Or
I think it's a great question.
Are they all available now on the town website?
I thought of it as a website
Because
with links to
easy to link them up and point them to each other.
with links to each one of these items.
On my desk currently, and I use on at least a monthly to weekly basis, sometimes daily, the Camel Land Use Plan. If you want to put right now in parentheses next to Hazard Mitigation Plan, Southeastern Hazard Mitigation Plan, the revised UDO as we move forward to that, those revisions and draft documents are on my desk. The Environmental Resource Committee rules. I have documents in a folder for the RCCP. I think you can also kind of classify what I just said with the 22 RCCP phases 1 and 2. I have those in a folder in my documents. And then you can also add down at the bottom a start of the current UDO, because the new UDO has not been adopted yet. It's just in draft form.
Yeah, and you said yesterday that the completion of that probably won't be till the end of next year.
Correct. We're aiming steadfast for December 2023. So
wow. Okay.
I think so coming up with a library, placing it on the website, I think it is my vision, more of a library, playbook type thing, making sure we can put hands on these documents at all time. And then asking questions in each one. I can go ahead and say, as soon as I get done, not as soon, but when the UDO is done, the land use plan will be needed to take a look at. It'll be about a year to 2 years behind, kind of taking a look at, see if it needs to be updated. Because as of right now, that's probably the most solid one of the most solid plans I have that the town has, and it's on my desk. So it's pretty well put together.
Well, if you remember, one of the requirements of the RCCP was that
Mhm.
that would be integrated into the
Yes.
land use plan.
So the other thing is that we can take the land use plan, and I can provide y'all copies of the UDO currently, and also the land use plan. The land use plan is also known as, in the planning world, future land use plans, comp plans, all that. We can also take a look at what's in the land use plan and help us guide us through this process as things needs to be updated.
So, Steve, what does UDO stand for? I'm sorry, I don't know what that acronym means.
Say that again, Steve.
What does UDO acronym mean?
Unified Development Ordinance.
Gotcha. Got it. Okay, my view on it is you definitely want to have web oriented, whether it's on the website or, to me, people are if you're going to use this for, constituents that live in Sunset Beach, it's definitely something you want to put online, and then you can update the links, and then as plans change, and then people can have the information that they're looking for if they need it. So I agree with you guys discussed that earlier. I agree with that. So.
Yeah. And I think it makes more sense to have this online than to have it printed, because it takes then any change you make, you got to go back and correct the print, which is much easier to do at one time electronically.
Well, you probably
There will
need
always
both.
need both. There will always be both.
There's always
You
somebody
could be
that
the
will walk
keeper
in.
of the
And,
paper.
Always, yeah.
You
Lisa
are.
and I are the keepers. Lisa has the,
You're the keeper of the paper, but
yep.
But I don't think that we need, at least my opinion is that I don't need a physical paper copy of this if I can access it online.
Yeah, and I can send you PDFs. I give you all a little secret. I keep the online or the Word version updated a whole lot more than I do the paper version that sits on my desk. That's why I have my computer with me as we go through one of our next agenda items.
yeah, I think if you send PDFs, that works the best for me. I
So
spend way too much money on ink for my printer.
Yeah, you're
Kill a lot of
looking.
trees too.
You're looking at probably 3 rooms of paper a person if I was to print all that out and give it to you.
Oh, I got a
And as
good friend in the paper business.
And
man.
if there's so much irony in giving y'all 3 rooms of paper per person in this committee, I don't know what.
Yeah,
it
kill
is.
those trees.
John, thank you for doing the work on
Yeah,
this.
I think it's
it's
a good
really
idea.
helpful.
Well, this is under construction. I guess I would suggest that we figure out how to do this for our own activity,
Mhm.
and then we develop this into something that then we could present to the council for the town.
If there is a need for this, potentially could, if we get to the point where we want, maybe I can seek what it looks like to bring in a consultant to maybe talk us through a couple things. I
Okay.
do have some resources where that, and we can talk about that in the next few months as well, of what that would look like.
Well, I think the hardest thing we have to do is to pull all the pieces of this together. If we put it together under one topic, one headline, then
You know where to look.
we've got it all there. So,
Because I found out when we were trying to research Miss Nesmith's problem, it's really hard to know where to go in the town materials to get
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
So then, John, this document would be kind of like a cover for all these other books, right? Essentially, and a way of introducing it, the whole concepts, and tying everything together and summarizing some of them, and then leading to. Is that the way what we're looking at?
kinda. If you have read the Philadelphia plan, it has an introduction from the mayor, and it has a description of what it's for. And I didn't prepare those yet, but we have the resolutions passed by council. We have the documentation from the town officials to make this a valid playbook, and then we can just add to it and keep track of what's been done and then we can come up with action plans to do the things that are still open for action. That was my thought. I don't know if this is sufficient for a motion to, so this is under development, and we'll keep working on it, and we get something that we can vote on. Anybody has any further thoughts or inputs to it, let me know.
So if there's, as we're kind of working through our own subcommittee things, if there's something that we find that could be helpful, we should let you know. So you
Yes.
can, you'll be the keeper of the list here.
Yeah, or bring it to the next meeting, and yeah, I'll be the
You
I'll
got
be
the
in
master
control
copy
of
here.
this. Okay, November meeting date. The November ERC meeting is scheduled for the 16th, Wednesday, November 16th. As Don mentioned, November 15th is American National Recycling Day, and there is a CRC meeting that I would be expected to attend on November 16th, so that's in conflict. So if we could move up the ERC meeting to the 15th, and we could coincide it with National Recycling, and I would not be in conflict to go to the CRC meeting.
Are the
Is that clear?
CRC meetings going to be on Wednesdays typically? I'm just wondering in general, will
No,
that
they-
conflict with
I don't think so.
I guess, as I said earlier, John, maybe wait, see, let people check their calendars for November, see if they could meet on the 16th or on that Tuesday.
and do we have to make some kind of public announcement?
We would just need to make a motion to amend that date to the 15th of November. Is that correct, Don?
Yes.
Which we were, before I even was told it was recycling day, we were probably looking at moving that date anyway to accommodate this board, more John than anybody else. But
Okay, so we'll table this until the
unless people know what their calendars look like. I do not have any other meetings.
I guess the one advantage would be to, if we decide now, we'll know if we need to get this space.
Yeah, this space is open, so I don't have any other town meetings in here that day. The council is going to one meeting a month. That will be the first, and then the planning board will meet that Thursday for a UDO update meeting. So this is available. We would have it if everybody, if everybody's available or a quorum is available. We can table it for the October meeting to make a final decision, or if everybody knows their availability now, we can certainly do this now.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
I could vote now for me.
I could too.
I can be there.
Well, I move the November meeting be changed to the 16th. Is that Tuesday?
To the 15th.
Change to the 15th. 15th at 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m.
Right.
I second the motion.
There are,
If you're going to re-motion his microphone, so you might have to say it again.
okay, so you want to make the motion again?
Yeah, I move that the November meeting be moved to Tuesday, the 15th of November. Same time, same location.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That was easy. The last new business item is the ordinances about natural vegetation.
Yes. So I'm going to speak on all yards in the town of Sunset Beach. The general code covers the town jurisdiction, not the ETJ, on nuisance and abatement. So if you were to go to the general code, not the UDO, this is a general code provision. It's in Muni Code. There is a link on the website. Chapter 93, Health and Sanitation and Nuisances. Starting in chapter 93.01, premises to be kept clean, and then notice of violation. And it states in the first paragraph, the growth of weeds, grass, undergrowth, ground cover, or other noxious growth of unimproved parcel of land to a predominant height that is in excess of 18 inches is hereby declared a dangerous or projectile to public health and safety. In addition, the placement or maintenance of any disposable trash, household goods, maintenance buildings, scraps, tree trimmings, and any yard debris in any alley, public place, or private property within the town limits, except for yard debris that are bundled and placed at the curb for pickup in accordance with subsection C below, is hereby declared dangerous to public health and safety. So that is for the whole entire town.
So when when I was reviewing, I think it was in the CAMA plan, one of the goals the town stated, and this was for stormwater management, was to encourage the maintenance of the natural tree canopy wherever they could, and then to encourage the maintenance of the natural understory plantings, the natural ground cover.
My understanding that if a piece of property has been cleared to be vacant, or it needs to be maintained as is, and it cannot have be deemed a nuisance. Now, one of our police officers is our code enforcement officer, and he handles all the nuisance abatement and stuff like that. So I know that the CAMA land use plan is used as a policy. It's used as guidance to when we look at changing ordinances and stuff like that. But as the code is written, this is what the rules would be.
But you're saying if it's not been developed, it's an undeveloped lot. I guess I'm not clear where you're saying that a person could keep the natural vegetation or they could not. Or they can have it only up till 18 inches. I'm not
Up to
sure
18 inches. So the rule would be you could not have any obnoxious or deemed nuisance growth on the property up to 18 inches in height.
So if someone's maintaining a woodland garden, is that a nuisance? I mean, I think some of it is very subjective, and so it's, how do we determine what's one person's weed versus the others? This is a natural native wildlife.
So one of the questions would be: is it a superficial appearance, or is it the benefit for the waterway and the rain gardens and things like that? At 18 inches is still pretty high.
Yeah.
So I see that property as meeting that part anyway.
Yeah. Most of it.
But it's, most, right. And did you say that's one or two lots, John?
It's one lot.
So that should.
We looked at the GIS property maps. She has a front portion and a rear portion to her lot, but it's one piece of property.
Mm-hmm. So therefore, if it's one piece of property, does it have a house on it?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, it would be deemed an improved piece of property because it's at one point been cleared or developed. So therefore, the yard would be deemed that it must not be deemed a nuisance according to this chapter and maintained as such.
Well, then I guess.
Does that mean that it could be maintained as a natural woodland setting?
I think that I'd have to.
This is a question that's going to come up more and more, I think.
Yeah, and as we're kind of encouraging people to use more native plantings, where do we, or if somebody's new coming in and just building, can they leave things as natural as possible?
And we check most of the plants there are native. There's very few Asian invasive plants in there.
Yeah, and there's not really a lot of what I would call noxious weeds.
Right.
I think we need definition around what the word nuisance means to the town, because it sounds like, to me, people could do a great job naturally, maintaining their yard, letting things grow. And that's not really a nuisance. But to me, it's a nuisance if people are just leaving things disheveled. like I consider Maverick's Point putt course a nuisance. It looks horrible. It's right in the center of our town. Everything's overgrown, not maintained. To me, that's a nuisance. But like what Rich and Candace are referring to is if somebody, you know, is trying to protect the environment, that's not a nuisance, but it might appear to other people to be because things are growing.
So the other part of this chapter, and it says in I read A, and this is what it says in B: the growth of weeds, grass, and undergrowth, fallen trees or limbs that are larger than 3 inches in diameter, and other noxious growth on any improved lot or parcel of land within the town limits is hereby declared to be dangerous to the public health and safety, and if it meets any of the following conditions: any condition in which a breeding ground to harbor mosquitoes, breeding ground to harbor for rats, snakes, and other pests has a potential for becoming a breeding ground to harbor such pests, a place of heavy growth weeds and grasses over 12 inches in height, it lies within 100 feet from any adjoining property line which contains a structure, a place of growth of noxious vegetation including poison sumac, poison ivy, poison oak. The section shall not apply to planted or cultivated vegetative areas, flowers, shrubbery, vegetables, crops, or other public areas maintained by natural habitats. It shall be the duty of every person occupying, owning, and having control of the property abutting on a street or highway that utilizes the portion of unused street or highway right-of-way or yard, and any other use maintain said right-of-way to same character and manner of the abutting use.
What does noxious mean? Is that poison? Is that all the poison plants?
Let me see if
That's a subjective word, if you ask me.
Yeah.
so. What I have instructed Mr. Hall to do is reach out to the property owner, and if there is anybody, and I will say anybody, that if there's a violation that is brought up on a property, they have the right to approve us to appeal a staff decision if this is where it goes. What that would do is that you can appeal a staff decision. Staff will make a determination of in writing to what the violation is. The person who gets the notice of violation can appeal it to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment will look at each case and then ultimately make a final ruling on that. That was my quick conversation with Mr. Hall this morning, and we are all talking. I've got to talk to Mr. White, our building inspector, and also Pete Larkin today as well about this, and then I will bring this up with Lisa. But that is normally the general process of this.
And with this particular property, that's happened over the last couple of years. The appeal and the.
I have no idea.
She's never appealed it.
Okay.
Yeah,
This may be the first time she's getting notice because Mr. Hall hasn't been here forever either.
So
So
and I can help the property owner facilitate that appeal to the staff, and deem a letter, and I can get a letter written to her.
well, and you all are going to meet, right?
I don't know when we're going to meet.
But you'll be doing that. So for this particular case, there's an answer. And I think as the three of us walked around yesterday, though, the question was bigger of, really what direction does the town want to take? I mean, here's a property that's directly on the intercoastal waterway. She drains into it. She drains in near one of the stormwater outlets where the town drains. And everything that I read in the land use plan would say this is a place where as much as we can do naturally to contain that stormwater and prevent
Keep in mind
it's draining down would be a benefit.
And keep in mind the land use plan is a policy. It's a guided.
I get.
Yeah, and it's
But if that's reflecting that here's where the town wants to go, then our question is more as we're doing more development or we're going out and trying to encourage homeowners, increase natural plantings. If people come back and say, hey, I want to go back to natural and replace my turf, assuming you don't have an HOA that's preventing that, what's the limit? So it's kind of a bigger question that we can look at over time as opposed to just her question of this particular.
To Candace's point, I live on a street, Stokes Drive, and it's sloped. And when you have a huge rainstorm, there's like feet of water that pours with dirt and junk in it down the street and into my yard, but then my neighbor's yard, but into the waterway, like tons of it. So I think that's like needs to be changed, but that's just an example. What you're talking about is having dirty water pouring into the marsh, into the intercoastal waterway from a hard surface in that case. So,
But yeah, I'll have that meeting with staff and ultimately go from there. And then if she has any questions, she can contact me directly.
Okay.
Can we maybe continue this next time as old business?
I can give you an
Review?
update on where we're at with it, but ultimately, comes down to staff making the decision and being consistent to how we look at every yard in the town. So,
Well, again, the big thing we have is that there's a lot of native plants there. There's a lot of natural woodlands, and they are all beneficial to the environment. And if there's a way that they can be balanced with the property owner,
Yeah, if compromise is needed, what would we
yeah,
advise?
there's Lynn Nesmith has two properties. She lives here in Sunset Beach. She lives down in Florida. She lives in a town called Seaside in Florida. It's out in the Panhandle. That town is a privately owned and developed community. They have very open landscaping rules. In fact, they're not open. They don't allow anything to be planted except native plants. And they have very little lawns. It's very much natural habitat in the whole community, and that's what she would like to be able to have here in Sunset Beach, or some version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we understand that, across the town there have to be some controls over this. We're just trying to find the middle ground. So we can have an update on this next month as well, right?
Yeah, that's
So her town's about 30 years old, which is, her town is about 30, Seaside is about 30 years old or so. I'm not sure exactly. But they started from scratch. And checking that property yesterday, we saw, believe it or not, one poison ivy ahead.
whole thing. Yeah, there was very little.
Yeah, so there's no other
There's
noxious.
not really a lot of noxious.
Right, yeah.
Now, there's other properties, particularly along Shoreline Drive. There's a lot of new development of housing out west of the birdwatch. There's a lot of natural forest habitat that's being left around those houses on that property.
Good.
But it's cleaned up. They picked up sticks, they picked up debris, it looks very clean. But the underground and grass vegetation has probably been cut, but it's cut like once a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is probably what the town ordinance would end up requiring. I think that's where she is. It's hers.
okay.
Oh.
Is there anything else for that? All right.
Old card.
We are at the end of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we
All in favor?
this meeting.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you all very much for your time.